So be gentle with me, please. Today I'd like to talk about learning CSS with WordPress. This is something I've done with my own company, LadderIT. First of all, I'd like to say this is really a bit of a discussion about one person's learning of WordPress. I don't really propose to give you a tutorial on CSS or WordPress or anything like that. Just chat about what I've done, some of the resources. We all use different resources, and then see if any of those are interesting to yourselves. So it should go something like this. We chat about CSS in general, look at the resources, a familiar feeling to me what on earth is going on, which you get 2 or 3 times a day. Go over a quick example which came from a client, which I've butchered some of the details about. One tiny thing which I like is RGBA, and I'll introduce a tool called Artisteer, which is a automated theme generation tool. It's kind of counterintuitive to the rest of the CSS stuff because in fact it kind of ignores all CSS. However, when you're using it, what happens is, or when I used it, what I found is that somehow you're thinking, how do we do that? And later on, your CSS is somehow improved because you go onto the technical resource and actually find out how the things are done. And what I'm hoping is a bit of an presentation in the last 10 minutes. We'll just try and create a wee theme as we go. So the resources that I've used to get to whatever dizzy heights I've reached so far started off with w3schools.com, very good, very straightforward site. Excellent for the beginner, little try it yourself sections. After that, with a bit more personality, we come to HTML Dog, which is another favourite of mine, something which I can go back to. As a WordPress person, the codex is very useful, and in particular, know your sources on CSS is one of the views on the great many sources that are out there. The tool that I use all day, every day is Chris Pedrick's Firefox Web Developer Toolbar. We'll have a look at that in a minute. There's a guy who I like his work called Andy Clark. Andy Clark is a web designer, and he's got quite a famous book. In fact, I came to him through looking at his video, a couple of videos that are well respected, but I did that through Safari Books Online. I don't know if many use Safari Books Online, but I was buying books, and by the time they arrived from Amazon, you know, I'd moved on, I was doing something else, so I got the 10-day subscription for free, I think it was, and then their notice to tell me that I was now subscribed, and the reason my credit card details went into my spam box, so I never noticed it, so there you are. I think the day after I found it in my spam, I upgraded because I wanted to get hold of the videos. But it's brilliant. About 80–90% of your top Amazon books are there. I think I pay $42 a month. Occasionally I still buy a book, I don't know why. The last one I bought was the WordPress Bible, so in fact it's a good piece of paper to have around. If you're going to buy one, I'm okay with that. And then there's Artisteer itself. So what does the codex say about CSS? To my mind, it breaks into 2 sections. It naturally goes down the theme development route, tags and classes and such, as I've put here. And don't really have the space and simply not the skills to discuss that in this room with the people here. So the other part, it has a great wealth of know your sources. So this is one person or the group's view of how the CSS resources go, but there are so many CSS resources on the internet. You know, you just need to get stuck in and try to enjoy it. You know, if you come across one that seems boring or difficult, just find another one. Garden, I think, is the one that I've been enjoying recently. Does everyone here, or do many people here, use the Firefox Web Developer Toolbar? Yeah. It's just a brilliant thing. So we'll have a look at that in a second, because in particular it's the tool that saves me when I think, what on earth is going on here? I'll actually have a wee look at my notes just now, and let's see what else I've got on there. This is a real website, which is just a little bit busy. I haven't looked at it in this resolution. It doesn't do any more favours. And in fact, this is a sort of website where quite often someone gives you a query of some kind in the client's language, and you look at it, and you just don't, I personally just don't know what I'm doing. So within the toolbar, the web development toolbar, there's the CSS. So there are two ways that I tend to do that, which is I use this view style information a lot. So basically anything that you hover over will go red, and you'll be able to see the style information. In fact, this website is not very well structured at all, so we'll go to the WordPress showcase, and I'll do the same thing. So as you can see, the box model just comes up, it's outlined in red. I think somewhere in the, one of the classic ways to make sure you're doing what you think you're doing in CSS is just to draw a box around it yourself, you know, go in and hack away. So this does it for you. Once you actually find the piece of material that you want to look at, if you double click and click on that, then the actual text of your CSS comes up, and you can select that, and then when you go to your actual file, you can go and do your find in the box everywhere. So that's my where on earth am I? Where the hell am I? So the other thing I'd like to talk about is just why bother with CSS. I have to confess that when I first came to it, I was working in-house, and the websites that I was contributing to didn't see a lot of change. You know, the content changed, but the style didn't change. So the overhead of CSS really just wasn't visible. You know, so don't blame the in-house guys, because it just doesn't look the same when you're dealing with 1, 2 or 3 websites all the time. Whereas when you're dealing with constant change, it's just obvious that you just want it separated. The other real reason for separation is accessibility. We just don't know what our user base is looking at our websites in. So we can talk about Firefox and Internet Explorer. I always test my stuff in Internet Explorer, because I think the people in this room probably using Firefox or some of the called modern browsers, but in fact, the punters, they're on Internet Explorer, and we don't know what number it is. The other reason for accessibility is people who have visual difficulties and legal requirements, and that's all very good. Some people get jobs at the legal requirements. I haven't had any battering down my door. Compassion for your fellow man is all very good, but in fact, the big reason for accessibility to be first thing in your mind, and I haven't got this up to now, I'm getting better, is because of Google. Google doesn't see things the way we see things. It chunks down your website the way a blind person's viewer might do it. So if you have image files and you have an SEO list, change your JPEG names to be reasonable to the guys, but you can do a lot with this. Don't forget, Google is your classic accessibility browser. So I'd like to have show you a wee example of a piece of work that I got in. So this uses the blue bubble template, which is what the client was using when they spoke to me, which is a nice template by Thomas White. And we'll go into the themes part of this. There is a background image. So this background image actually extends up to the top of the shotgun, it's just the way it's cropped here. But if we go to the actual site, you can see the tiny wee bit of shotgun there, I think. This was done on an iMac originally by the client, and in fact, I've taken a shotgun guide to the left, whereas it was a snake to the right. It's very much the same thing. So you can see, by looking at this under a different resolution, you get a completely different result. So the client asked them to just have a look at it. So if we bring on our view style information, we start looking about. That's the image. So I've got a container here. So let's have a look at the container, and in fact up here, it's touching up very well, that's actually the body. There's a wee grey line there, I don't know how clear it is. Up here. I'm just going to close this. go into themes, look at the editor. Got the body here, and straight away here you can see the background has got a body colour. I'm just going to text that out. I think that was continuous. I bought this laptop off the internet, and I wish I'd had a look at the screen before I bought it, because it's got on paper, it's lovely. any light challenges, and it's a shambles. So I'm just going to update that now. Then we'll have a look, and we have our shotgun guy. So that's looking better than it was. In fact, this is quite a challenging resolution for it. But there's text here which we can't see properly. As we shrink it, it moves around. Charge on a wee bit. So if we view style information, we hover over here, and we see that there's a div.entry there. So I'm just going to go back to the code. So in the entry we've got, I've already put one in, for speed. Oops. So we're going to update that. And now we can read it. And you can see the shotgun. And just to go back to the presentation for a wee second. One of the things which I've taken to using now is RGBA, which is just RGB colour for backgrounds, only you add a little bit of transparency on it. Or this 0.5 at the end is actually opacity, what do you call it? Here's one I prepared earlier. And now it's not terribly clear there, but you can actually, on a bigger image, you can see enough of the background so you feel that you're still in connection with the background material. And this is Artisteer. Many of you use Artisteer? Okay, well, this is set up to work for WordPress, as you might expect, but in fact it will do Joomla, Drupal, just plain HTML, 2 or 3 page templates. You can make as many as you want. But so here's the audience participation for a wee second. Is anybody here looking for a theme recently? Somebody, yep. Can you tell what industry you're working in?
Well, I was looking for stuff that would handle video. So my industry is, I do a website called So You've Been Dumped. It's for people that are going through breakups.
Going through breakups?
I was looking for something to kind of highlight video usage. So
okay, well I'll show you this one while we look at the being dumped theme, see if I can find anything in here. So, top left here we have suggested design. Just click this again. And it just goes away to its background and suggests a whole bunch of stuff. So let's keep going until we get anything at all that might look like, well, that's a happy dump. That's no good. I think it does tend to emphasise the positive of the website situation. So let's move on to the online dating part of this then, I suppose.
That's not bad, that one.
Okay, so this is a very blue theme, as you can see, and we'll just go along the top here with colours and fonts. once again, we have the suggestions. So this is just knocking stuff out for you, that it's deciding. So that's not really very useful. Let's look at the background. So you can pick a background. Because of the resolution here, this isn't clear, but this is in Price is Right. Is this? I know this image. I can probably see it at the top there. People walking about. It's a classic business type background. But if we look at the images that we have the possibility of, we fall into photographs and then these more gentle patterns. So we'll use that, but don't like that header. So just do the ideas again. So that's at least looking possible. There are other sections for the sidebar and so on. You can turn on suggestion mode. Just click on something and it'll start changing things for you. And this is where it links back to CSS, because what's actually happening when you put in an image, then you decide to align it to the right or the left, you change the transparency, you change the size, you change the number of columns. Somewhere along the line, you're getting to know WordPress better. Because even though it's random stuff thrown at you, you can't help but see what's going on. This has got 3 columns in it, but we're in a narrow resolution, so I believe it's in layout, columns. Let's do passing 2 column, left menu, and then so this will save a file in its own Artisteer file format. Like that, what we're going to do is we're going to export this the WordPress theme. Let's call it that1. It's a zip archive, it's in WordUp. With more time, we would then adjust the fonts and decide on colours for the menus. I think by default the theme itself will point to Artisteer. Okay. So that's, I think that should be it. Have a look at Firefox. So I have a very vanilla WordPress site here. Just a couple of posts in it. So I think it'll just come out of the box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the dashboard. Go to themes. Science machines will come aboard. So that'll be 6. This is going up to the sky. I think this is on namescore. So there's our theme. So that's a lot of this is a matter of taste, but with enough time, you really can produce something. The templates they tend to be quite similar in the background, so you might, once you've done a few, you think, well, that looks like an Artisteer template. But in fact, considering the time that we've had, it's quite a radical change to that particular website. These are my family playing on the snow and beach, due west of here. And I guess that's it for my presentation today. Okay.
We have a bit of time for questions if anybody has any for Jim.
Got a question. Yeah. Do you happen to know how or which browsers support the opacity setting for RGBA? I presume it's likely to be more the modern ones rather
It's one of the later ones. I think it is part of the CS3. I have checked it with just the ones on my machine, which is Internet Explorer 9, Firefox, and Chrome. I've only, I mean, this is speaking to you guys. I came across this last week, so I haven't really done exhaustive testing on some of these things. And even though I'm talking about the accessibility, I think when I read about it a little bit, it's not going to destroy your site anyway. All it's going to do is leave it transparent. I think is what the default position is. So it's almost like it's not there. So, as long as you can live with that. So please say hello to me on LinkedIn. I am an abject beginner on Twitter, so you can laugh and get at that as well if you want. Close up. Is there any other questions? Yeah.
Not really a question, but just another tool that I use a lot is Firebug.
Yeah.
Do you use that one?
Yeah, I do. I just
just really like it because you can edit the CSS on the fly and you can just see what's happening with it.
Well, when you edit with that, does it work in? I think I had a bit of a problem on WordPress site when I was editing it, so it didn't. But I didn't really get to the bottom of it. I mean, I think it occurred once last week, and I just.
It seems to work.
Seems to work fine. Yeah. I mean, it might be that Artisteer, it's quite. It's a bit bloated.
Yes.
Some of the CSS and things that it produces, so it might just be a query with that. I didn't know well enough to come and talk about it. And then 25 minutes is 20 minutes.
One thing I will say support of Firebug is that it will show you multiple rules that apply to the thing that you're looking at, and cross out the ones that have been overridden by later rules. And that's a really, really good learning tool. When you add, adopt my class and some setting at the bottom, and it doesn't work and you can't figure out why, Firebug will tell you that cross yours out and you just put in and say this other one's more specific and that's overridden it. And that is a brilliant learning tool.
That's right.
Figuring out what the hell's going on and why it doesn't work.
Can I just check that the presentations will be made available?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it up. I'll make you tell you some of the details.
Turn off the full strip of light.
Yeah, there should be.
The projector.
Yep.
So further.
Press something.